everybody. Welcome to New Mom Monday. Happy Monday. Does it feel like a Monday for you?
I usually love Mondays.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait to get here. But today feels like a Monday.
Today feels like a Monday. A case of the Mondays.
Case of the Mondays, yeah.
But it is Monday, and we're talking about milk supply, increasing your milk supply. So this is going to be a good topic for you to talk about because I don't have a lot to add to this.
Did you breastfeed?
I did,
Okay.
but I probably just didn't know what I was doing for most of the kids.
But if it worked, that's all that matters.
Well, it worked, but then I stopped. I went back to work, and I'm like, oh, this is too much work. I don't want to have to pump when I'm at work. And so I stopped after a few months. And then it was one of these, like, it's just not really working, so I'm going to stop. And I didn't put effort into it. But after, learning some of this stuff, too.
Same story.
Now
that
I'm
was
like,
me with Bella.
oh, I wish I would have. Or I know that there's more that you can do to try to get it to work instead of just thinking that it's just not right for you. Like, your body is made to provide enough milk for your baby. So it's not something wrong with you if it's not working.
Yeah.
There's a lot of outside factors. So it'll be interesting to hear what you have to say. But last week we covered Layla's story a little bit.
We did.
So part of how we wanted to start this one is about how healthy moms make healthy babies.
Or sick moms make sick babies. Which we've talked about before with Bella's story because I'm not one of those moms that gets offended. I like to share
our experiences.
Yeah,
for sure.
So to bring it all back and why I have a passion on this subject is when I had Bella, I think my dad's on a flight. He loves these interesting shows about boobs and everything. Anywho, I had more milk than I knew what to do with. Okay, I knew nothing about breastfeeding. It was 12 years ago, 12 and a half, so it was not even as common as it is nowadays, sadly enough. But I was bound and determined. There was something inside me that said, if my body was made to do this, I'm going to do this.
Right.
So this is bringing it back a little further than supply. But so I started breastfeeding. I was 17. I was a single mom-ish, providing. Working and graduating high school. And I had money for formula, but why would I want to do that?
Right.
So I was going to breastfeed, but I was bound and determined. I had this myth in my head that I wanted to be able convenience, because that's the world we live in, right?
That is.
I wanted to be able to do breast milk and formula. So from day one, I did both.
Oh, wow.
Why?
Yeah. Well, the convenience thing. Because then if somebody else needs to get up with the baby,
wrong,
then they can...
because breastfeeding is supply and demand.
Right. So
Anywho, so we got these wonderful little Similac bottles and whatever. So I had all this milk, didn't know what to do with it, and they put it on formula. I didn't know any better, fed as best. So I started paying full price
for formula. Oh no.
It was what it was. I was
even
raising
though
a baby.
You were breastfeeding.
Yeah. So eventually my milk dried up. She did better on the formula. I was never once told to watch what I was eating. I was never once told that, hey, mine wasn't even an issue of sticking it out.
Yeah.
And years down the road, on top of all the other things that sick mommy makes sick babies, she now has all these digestive issues. And I have thousands of dollars into formula that I had to pay for. Yeah. So when I had Jace, I was bound and determined. This is my second baby. I know exactly what I'm doing. Right. I did all of this before. Work at the Wellness Way. I know that breast milk is catered to the baby. Yes. It changes as the baby grows. It changes as the baby gets sick. This is going to be fantastic. I got this.
And then?
And then I had Jace. And it hurt. And it sucked.
Yeah.
And
literally.
It was not, literally. It was not what I remembered.
Right.
I had more milk than I knew what to do with.
Super uncomfortable.
I knew nothing about pumping to release some of it. I knew nothing, right? I'm on these weeks of maternity leave. He had a horrible latch. I'm cracked. I'm bleeding. I'm overproducing. Then I'm underproducing. I've been through everything in the book,
You've
right?
done it all.
Guys are out. They're out.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, no, not going to watch the rest of this one.
And then our dog runs away.
Okay.
And my husband takes the stress out on me, and we've got this newborn. We've got this 9-year-old that we're trying to raise, and my supply tanks.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that between 6 to 8 weeks, your supply regulates.
So that's when it gets set.
In fact,
For
I
the long
remember, I don't know if you remember this, I remember texting Doc and saying, do you know how I can decrease, this is where my mind went right to items, went right to things instead of the body's natural ability. Do you know how I can decrease milk supply? I got, no.
No, why would you do that?
Why?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
What did he just say?
Stress out.
Stress out.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's true.
great. Dog runs away, stress
Yeah.
out. So I went from that to undersupply. And I've got milk in the freezer and I'm slowly burning through it. I'm not making enough. Jace would not latch. Because I had the cracked and bleeding nipples, I was bottle feeding at a week and a half old.
Oh, no.
Well, bottles are easier than
Way
breasts.
easier.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
And so they have a preference. Side note, did you know that breastfeeding can help with the development of ear, nose, and throat, which causes you not to snore later in life?
No.
It's part of the natural forms
Really?
of development. You
That's
have
part
to
of
breastfeed.
why you're supposed to do that
Yes.
stuff.
My mom told me that once. She's like, keep going, your
Yeah.
baby won't snore.
What? That's
But
something
it
you're
goes
not
to
even
show
thinking
the
about
way
yet.
the body
Right.
is
It was
created and
created
meant
to work that way. Right.
So we got through it, increased it.
So you did get through it.
We did get
so
through
you
it.
increased it. Because
Yes.
that's probably when I would quit. That's when I would have been like,
Honestly,
okay, I'm
if I didn't
stressed,
have the
I don't
knowledge
have
that I
time.
had,
Right.
if I was not so hell-bent on nursing
On doing
and
it.
breastfeeding,
Yeah.
I would have quit,
Yeah. Yeah, I could see
hands
that now.
down. I mean, I was cutting the breast milk with coconut milk because I didn't have enough. He was
wow.
older,
Yeah.
and it was good. These are all
Yeah.
good things. These are all tools
Right.
in my bag.
Yeah.
But, so that's the story with Jace. So then we had Jackson. But coming with all these issues, I started to learn a few key points. First is how important it is to be healthy beforehand.
Right.
We all know that. We've talked about that in multiple episodes. Second, just because you don't have milk coming out your eyeballs doesn't mean that you have a low supply.
Right.
I see a lot of moms that want, to save 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 ounces a day. That's oversupply. Anything
what
more than
is-
3 ounces
Yeah, I was gonna
is
say, so
considered by them. Who gets to determine it, right?
yeah, right.
It's considered oversupply.
Inside. Okay.
So your body is meant to make what the baby is taking out. In a healthy, fully functioning body,
Right.
it is meant to be, and sometimes an oversupply.
Yeah.
Now, I work full time, so I pump
So you
4
need
days a
more.
week.
Right.
So my body actually makes more. I prefer it that way.
Right.
I have 2
'Cause then
babies.
you're not
Yes, and I have 2
struggling.
babies that I donate to.
Right.
So the first thing that I tell moms all the time is, are you sure it's a low supply? Okay. Second thing is they want the just like everybody. They want the magic. They want the magic pill.
Yeah.
What can I take?
Right.
What
That's
can
gonna
I do?
help. Yeah.
You
There
have
is
to
nothing.
put that baby to the breast.
Right. And
You
the whole,
have
it's supply and demand.
Supply and demand. So because I've always had an oversupply from the beginning, both of my boys have no desire to work for anything.
Yeah.
They want it there and they want it there now.
Right.
So 2 weeks ago, after my milk dropped after Hawaii,
Yes.
just the nature of not nursing
Not
and
nursing,
not
but
emptying
you
as
were
well from the
pumping,
pump,
right.
because that is a thing.
Yeah.
We have a question about that. We'll address that. I'm like, okay, we're just going to latch all the time. He's
it's
like,
gonna
I'm
be
not working
perfect.
for
It's
this.
gonna be awesome.
So
Yeah,
I was
no.
doing every 2 to 2.5 hours of pumping
Just to get the supply back
just
up.
to get the supply back
right?
up. For me personally, it takes 2 to 3 days of that. So a mom will do 2 days and feel like, yeah, I'm getting up in the middle of the night, I'm pumping, I'm then pouring it into a bottle, I'm feeding the baby, I'm laying back down at night,
Right.
in an hour I'm getting up and doing it again.
Doing it again. Yeah, which
And
is why
again.
like the spouse will be like, well, I'll just do a bottle. You still have to get up and
You
pump.
still have to get up
You
and
can't
pump.
just skip that one. Plus, you know how you're going to feel if you skip that one, right? I mean, you can't just not do anything.
I like to call it manipulation, and I've manipulated my milk
Yeah.
more times than I can count.
Because you know how.
I know
and
how.
Because you can, yeah.
Yeah.
But
I
it's
learned,
frustrating if you're on the opposite side.
It
And
is.
you're like, oh,
but I've
I
been
can't do
there,
this.
and other than rare instances, which you need to see a wellness way doctor, I've gotten it back up again
Right.
by supply and demand, and food, and water, and sleep.
Yeah. Well, managing your stress.
Yeah.
Too. I mean,
Yeah.
which is the food, and you know what I mean, because that's all stressors on your body.
Stressors on the body. So, what I always tell people is step back and make sure you actually. First off, it starts from the beginning. That baby should
Skin
be
to skin.
on the breast as soon as they are out. Is that the right word?
As soon as they're
They
handed
will
to you. As soon as
actually,
you get 'em.
these are all the fun facts I've learned over the years. They will
Yeah.
actually army crawl.
Oh, were you
Probably
talking about
me.
that once before? Yeah.
You can put baby, I tried it with
Yes,
Jace.
that's
It's
right.
really
You
cool.
said it before.
You can put the baby on your chest. They will
Yeah.
army crawl to
That's
the
so
site.
cool.
You can't tell me that that's not what's meant to be. That
Right.
you're supposed
That's how
to
you were
stick
created to do
a
that.
bottle
Right.
in their mouth.
Right.
Amen.
Doc says amen.
I can say that
Yeah.
because I did it. I stuck a bottle in Bella's mouth, and we all know from 8 out of 10 episodes of New Mom Mondays what she's dealing with now.
Yeah.
And it's done. It's okay. And we deal with it now. Thank God we have the phone this way.
Right.
So anyways, they have to be on right away. Have to start latching, start pumping, whichever.
Yeah.
The most important part is getting the baby on the breast. So the next thing I like to say is, are you sure it's low supply?
So how do you know if it's low supply or if
So the number
It's
one
enough.
indicator
Not
is your baby
enough.
gaining weight. This is a twofold argument because you have moms that are fully nursing. They're not pumping,
Right.
they're not bottle feeding, and that is truly, is baby growing? Is baby content? And is baby having enough, number one, poopy and wet diapers?
Yeah, right.
Yes, that's fine.
Then it's fine.
These
when you
growth
go-
charts that
I
they
was gonna
do
say,
on
so
kids.
they go into the doctor and they say
Number 459, why
Baby's
Bri doesn't
losing
go
weight.
to the
Yeah, no
pediatric
kidding.
appointments.
baby's losing weight, you need to start supplementing with formula. Then what? You get those tiny
Is
little
baby truly losing
you get those
weight?
tiny little
Is
formula
baby
things.
getting enough wet and poopy diapers? It is common for a breastfed baby to go 7 days without a poopy diaper, not wet,
Right.
poop.
But without poop.
because it's so natural. Your body uses it all up. There's not enough waste.
Yeah. So just because they're losing weight, I guess it all depends.
It all depends.
Yeah, it all depends.
That's all that. Do your research and trust your instinct.
But don't just give up right away.
Don't give up right away.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you it is so much easier. So
Because
we
wait,
went to
what
Florida.
happens though if you do start supplementing formula? Is that's
Your
where you
supply
start
drops.
ending up with the issues
Correct.
of
There are times,
Can't go
Nance, there
back.
are times, everybody out there, you have to supplement.
yeah.
Now, do I believe there are better options than the commercial formulas available? Absolutely.
Sure.
There's some homemade formulas.
And we have one on the website.
We do have one on the website. There's, if baby's old enough, I mean, when Jace was 6-7 months and I was low at points, just adding in
Yeah.
full fat canned coconut milk, oh, that was
enough.
totally fine,
Yeah.
right? So even through all the ups and the downs, Jace did still not have solids until he was a year old.
Right. Wow.
Yep. And I would
Made
will
it all
never regret
happen.
that decision. It was the best
Yeah.
decision I ever made.
What were you going to say about Florida?
So we went to Florida and I packed diapers and wipes.
Yeah.
That's it. No bottles.
How old? How old was
This
he?
was last
Jackson.
month. So
Okay.
5 months,
Nice.
5.5.
That's all you packed.
We do, and we'll go up north and we'll
Yeah.
not plan to stay. And I remember with Bella, and I had these little
Yeah.
canisters,
Oh,
and you're trying to
so
carry warm
annoying.
water, and you're trying to wash bottles, and now it stinks, and the spit up stinks, and the poop stains everything. That's my personal experience of why.
Right? That is. It's true. That's exactly
you want to
right.
talk about convenience? It's convenient
Yeah.
to breastfeed.
It is.
I've learned that now.
And it's a little bit of more of a long-term thing. Like it's not about
Yeah,
right.
it's
Like
long
what's
term.
best long term.
It's not
and
just-
once you get through those moments of frustration and you don't just give in to just doing the formula or whatever's easiest, then that's when you're gonna get the payoff, the benefit of Bella versus Jace.
Yeah,
Oh, they don't
which
have as many
it's
issues.
multiple factors.
Yeah.
I get it. It's not just because she was formula fed, and it's. I know there's gonna be moms out there. You're making formula fed moms feel bad. No, I'm not. It's not the goal of this.
Right.
My goal is not to make anybody feel bad. My goal is to empower moms because I wish somebody would have empowered me to stick with it.
Right. Yeah.
My bank account
Just
agrees
keep
with me.
Trying. Just keep
Just
and
keep
get help.
swimming.
Yeah. Just keep swimming.
So the first
And-
thing
but
is
get
it as
help
low
too.
as you say
Yeah.
it is? Okay, great. Now we're to the point. I had enough always in the freezer from the very beginning that's what I would supply with. There are other options. My first go-to would be donor milk. I know that's a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow. I would take donor milk from somebody I don't know. I mean, to an extent, you know, over formula off the shelves. That's a personal preference. That's me.
And because you know what your baby needs as far as like no dairy and things like that.
Now,
so that
now that's totally, that's another thing.
That's
now that I got my difficult, no coconut, no shrimp, no dairy kid, which we talked about in a different episode. So if baby's fussy, there's options for what you're eating.
But even you though, like you're able to provide dairy-free, gluten-free milk
because
supplied
I have to
other people, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so number one.
So that's number one, supply and demand. You have to. Number one point of milk production is when your prolactin is highest. That's what produces your milk. So there are tests. You can run a prolactin test. Is between 1 and 3 a.m.
Okay.
So the most important time that moms want to sleep, if baby is sleeping or will not latch, you have to be getting up and pumping.
Get up and pump.
That will jumpstart. I
increasing.
think that is what happened when I was in Hawaii. So when I was in Hawaii, I was pumping every 3 hours. In the car, on the beach, on the catamaran.
Nice.
Should have posted in all those
you should
breastfeeding
post all
moms
those
pages.
pictures.
Yeah. But I would go to bed around 11 and get up around 5 or 6. My babe is still eating every 3 hours at night.
Yeah.
So now that we got up and we did that and we're back in the swing of things. It takes a little while, but we're back in the swing of things. So that's the first one, is supply and demand. Second, over any herb, any drink, anything,
any
sleep,
magic potion,
water, and food.
Water. How much water? I mean, you have to drink a lot of water, especially when you're breastfeeding.
I drink a lot of water, but you know what I don't think people put enough emphasis on is the food. I know a lot of moms,
and
myself included, with Jace, I was dairy-free, gluten-free. I felt like all I did was eat. I notice, for me, as soon as I lose all the weight I want to lose and I feel fantastic.
You stop eating?
I don't stop eating. I just eat really good.
Yeah.
My milk drops.
Oh.
So we go through these cycles. It's 4 times now with Jackson. I'm going to Hawaii. I want to fit in a swimsuit.
And then
what's more important?
Right.
Yeah. So we call it the little breastfeeding belly. I'm not saying you have to have that to breastfeed, but I have to eat enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just because of why? Because that's what you need, the calories for your body to have the energy. I don't know the science behind it.
Third time around, my body says, I'm not making anything if you're not giving me what I want.
Yeah.
So carbs. I need bread, gluten-free, Sammy's bread.
Like, what did you have the other day? You had like a ham sandwich with like just one bite out of a piece of bread. Like, what are you doing?
I ran out of ham.
That was really funny. Yeah.
But do you see me constantly
eating all
ham?
the time.
Yeah. Which brings me to the next thing that I always go to is food. You can go online and look up a list of galactagogues.
Galactagogues.
I think
I saw that when I was looking at things before this.
Oats, avocado, fats.
Of course, I would do like
butter,
the nursing mom cookies,
lactation cookies.
I mean, I don't even care what's in it. If it's a cookie, I'll eat it.
Oh, I went on a cookie dough binge when I had Jace.
Yeah.
I ate cookie dough. This is before you worked here.
Was it this kind of? Was it like good cookie dough?
I took the Nestle Toll House cookie dough recipe and I switched out the flour for gluten-free and the sugar for xylitol.
Right.
Added oats, and the butter was grass-fed.
So what of that is good for milk supply? Just the oats?
My mental health.
Right. Just so that you could keep eating and eat cookie dough.
I'm talking about, we went as far as we were on a trip, a seminar, at the Gaylord Palms in Orlando.
Yeah.
And I packed in my carry-on.
Cookie dough?
Everybody remembers. And I put it in my little mini fridge, and every night I went and ate my cookie dough.
Cookie dough.
It doesn't taste the same without real butter, grass-fed butter either, and now that I can't do any of that with Jackson, I'm over the cookie dough.
You're over it.
Next.
So now you're eating bread. Just plain
PB&J with hemp hearts, that's my go-to.
Right now.
But from somebody who's very low carb, low grain, I see a lot of, before I got kicked off the Crunchy Mom site, 2 weeks ago.
New development, by the way. I feel like we need like a news alert or something. This is your news alert.
I got kicked off.
Bri was kicked off the Crunchy Moms group.
I saw a lot of vegan.
You're not going to say anything about that.
What? No.
Okay.
It's math.
Right.
Nobody can math.
Okay, you were...
That's a different show, a different episode.
Got it.
They can't get their milk up.
That's funny.
You need some of those complex proteins and complex carbohydrates to produce food for another baby.
Yeah.
I can't live on kale and what do they always say? Kale and carrots when I'm breastfeeding.
Right.
It doesn't happen.
It just, because then you don't have milk supply.
I feel great. My pants fit great. Baby's not
happy. But you can't feed your baby.
But realistically, what do you want?
Right. What's more important? I'm looking to see if we have any questions.
Yeah.
Because I don't usually ever look. So I'm going to look and see.
So after that, after the foods, there's additional things you can do. So if you're getting enough water, you're getting enough sleep, your stress is low, you're getting up, you're pumping as often as you can, supply and demand. There's things such as power pumping. Look it up. I'm not going to go over it. There's things such as galactagogues. I'm not going to list all 50 of them off. Look it up.
Just Google it.
There's a Google.
I'm glad you said galactagogues because I couldn't figure out how to
I could be saying it really wrong, but
I
that's
feel like
how I
that
pronounce it.
isn't Battlestar Galactica or something? Yeah. Galactagogues.
There is...
You're welcome, Mark. That was for you.
Mother's milk tea. There is electrolytes. There is a drink floating around on every breastfeeding site called Body Armor. And they're going out in the droves and they're getting it. It's horrible for you. I don't care if it increases your milk supply. I don't care if blue Gatorade or purple Gatorade increases your milk supply. It's still not good for you. There are other ways.
There are other options.
Numa, coconut water.
What are some of the things that decrease milk supply that you should avoid? Because obviously one of them is stress. So try to keep your stress down. Otherwise, like that's going to
big. Which
definitely
you tell
affect.
Mom. Get
Cut
rid
down
of
on
your stress.
It's like telling somebody you're in a mood today, and then they're like, "No, you just made it worse."
Bella just said to me, "I hate when you ask me if I'm crabby." Yes, I'm crabby. If you're going to ask me if I'm crabby,
exactly. We just talked about that.
Peppermint.
Peppermint. Well, so actually, I mean, not that this is very like exciting, but when I had Layla, I didn't know anything about donating milk. I'm like, what do I do now? Like, my body thinks that I'm supposed to be nursing a baby, so I needed to ice and peppermint the first week.
Cabbage leaves?
Constant.
Did you do that?
Mm-mm.
Yep, that'll decrease
No,
cabbage leaves on the
I think that
chest.
I opted for the peppermint.
Not that anybody walks around unless
because
they're
of the
specifically
smell.
trying to
like
do
I
that,
remember
but-
thinking like I'd rather smell peppermint than cabbage leaves, and then Sudafed, which is awful. Like, but I don't know, something in like the cold and
the
sinus
decongestant.
meds
Yeah,
or
so if you're
something.
nursing, which again, speaking to general population, so I don't typically take decongestants or Sudafed. You can't do Sudafed, anything with the decongestant. So like let's say you're doing Claritin for allergies, which I don't advise. I advise figuring out why you have them in the first place. Shameless plug. You can't do Claritin with D. You know how they have the Zyrtec D, Claritin D? You can't do any of the D. That stands for decongestant. So no peppermint.
Which will end up, yeah.
Yeah. But funny thing, a couple of months ago, my milk dropped. And because my boys, I say boys because Jace is the same way, do not want to work for anything.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not having this, which puts me getting up in the middle of the night, pumping, washing parts, making bottles.
Yeah.
I'm not all about that.
Right.
I have a job
That's
to
not
do.
the convenient part.
That's not the convenient part.
Breastfeeding.
So I couldn't figure out why it's dropping. And we're sitting there, and I say to my husband, I could call him by his name, I say to Wes, I wonder if it's the new shampoo I got. I've been using this new shampoo. It has essential oils in it.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
And he goes, well, is there peppermint essential oil? I said, yeah, it's like one of the first ingredients.
It just didn't dawn on you or what?
It did. I just didn't think it mattered.
Yeah.
Because, 3 people in, this big face of the wellness way, I just didn't matter. I really liked the shampoo.
But it mattered.
It totally mattered.
And that was part of it?
Yeah. I had to get rid of the shampoo.
Oh.
It sucked.
That stinks. So now what shampoo are you using?
I think they call that first world problems.
Yeah, right. That's an issue.
No, so no peppermint. So coconut waters, electrolytes, food, looking up foods that increase milk supply, essential oils, not peppermint, excuse me, basil and fennel. Everything is different for everybody. So I tried everything under the book. I know moms that'll have 1 cup. It's called Mother's Milk Tea. I had a box of it in my office. I forgot to bring it with as a prop. I know people that'll have 1 cup of it, and they're like, it increased my milk supply exponentially. I drink like 6, and I'm like,
and it didn't do
doing
anything.
Yeah. There's different cookies. A big go-to, people like to go to fenugreek. Definitely works.
Yes.
For me, when I had Jace, it caused digestive upset. big time.
For
and
him?
Me and him.
Okay, for both
So
of
it
you.
wasn't worth it. Sure, he was happy because there was enough milk, but he was constantly in pain because that upset him. So the 2 herbs I like to go to more is Shavatari and Moringa.
Never heard of either of them.
Yeah,
Shavatari and what?
Shavatari and Moringa. You can get them on Amazon.
Perfect.
But yeah,
And those help.
they're another one that helps.
Fish,
It's gonna help.
yeah.
It's gonna be different for everybody.
Yeah, and it depends on what the issue is. Like if you're not doing some of
But
those
if I had to
basics that
guess,
you should be doing.
90% of the time, it's not a lack of herb. It's not a lack of oats. It's not a lack of Gatorade or electrolyte water.
Right.
It's supply and demand, getting enough sleep, eating enough food.
Makes sense.
And the last thing I have not dealt with personally, I do know there are moms that have done it all, are doing everything, and still can't get it where they need to be. Then you need to look at. I would
else is going
test
on?
hormones. I would test prolactin. I'd find a wellness way.
Most likely a hormone something.
Could be
I'd have to
anything.
see.
There are extreme cases where, I mean, hello, especially if mom wasn't healthy or even thought she was healthy ahead of time. That's where I would bring in some of the homemade formulas, the donor milk, and if needed, the
To have
the
some other
formula.
options. Christy made a good point. I never knew how much my babies ate.
Christy Flynn.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Christy
Because-
never pumped and bottle fed.
Yeah.
Super neat story.
But when you do that,
But
you don't know how much they're getting. So
she
how
has
do you
no
know?
idea, and that's totally. We get so stressed out. In fact, with Jackson, I really wanted to go more along the lines of this is what my body's created to do. So I pumped because I had to just for relief, and then I was
Yeah.
donating to a baby. But I just fed. So he started daycare when I came back to work. My wonderful little daycare. So they worked with me.
Yeah.
And they're like, when does he eat? And how much does he eat? And I went,
Whatever he wants,
I
whenever he
don't
wants.
know. So we
There's no
figured it out.
schedule for that.
Both my boys have never done. That's another thing we didn't talk about is overfeeding. It is super easy to overfeed a baby, especially a breastfed baby.
Yeah, especially if you're just doing it on demand.
No,
Right?
that's not as easy if you're bottle feeding because it's easy to get it from a bottle. So mine
Oh, I see.
will take and take and take and take and take from a bottle until they puke it up.
Oh.
And then go, oh, it's just spit up. In fact, the first 4 to 6 weeks, again, oversupply. I know they say you never have to cut off a breastfed baby. I highly disagree. If I did not cut off both my boys when I was nursing them,
Yeah.
they puked projectile every time I
Really?
had that much milk.
Just because you had too much. So that's an issue too.
So
have
if
too
you
much.
feel like you're not making enough supply, is it an issue of overfeeding? The standard is 1 to 1.5 ounces every hour. So typically 3 ounces every 3 hours, give or take.
It's not that much.
It's not that
Think
much.
about it. Because then you make a bottle and it's 6 ounces, and then it's like they'll drink it all, but that doesn't
Yeah,
mean
so
that they're
Jackson is, and every baby is
needing
different.
it all.
He's a tank. I mean, we've all,
Yeah,
we've all
Jackson
seen
is, yes.
Jackson. He still, to this day, does 3 ounces every 3 hours. More at night. More spread out at night. When he's drinking from a bottle.
There was something I was going to ask about.
So
when you're
we had a
adding-
question.
I was going to ask something about like when you start supplementing the formula, how that affects your milk supply, but it's just the same thing. It's the supply and demand, because if you're starting to use formula, they get used to that.
So this is a really neat question. I'd love for you to cover why my pump doesn't empty my breasts. It doesn't. Not as good as a baby. That was my other issue with Hawaii. This is perfect to do this after Hawaii. I learned a lot.
Yeah, it was. You learned a lot.
My left side does not empty well from my pump. It's a task. It's waiting. It's forcing it out.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I don't know why. I've got ideas if it's because Jace only ate on the right side and yada yada yada.
Oh, really?
Super common
Oh.
for your sides not to make the same amount
Right.
of milk.
Yeah, that's
Don't get
normal.
stressed out about it.
Or for your baby to prefer one side over the other.
Yeah. That when that happens with my babes, it's chiropractic. It's the first place
Oh,
I'm going to
really?
get them in is the chiropractor. Jackson started preferring one side or the other, and I was bound and determined that I was not going to be lopsided this time.
I remember that.
This was the Bri speaks all. So I was like,
Yes.
But I would put him on the other side, and he would cry.
Because it just wasn't as easy.
It wasn't as easy, or I don't think he was comfortable. He was getting a
Because his
preference
head-
with his neck,
Oh,
so
okay.
chiropractic.
So then did you start switching?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it worked fine.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So it was the chiropractic thing. I never would have thought of that.
Who would have thought? I know.
Who would have thunk?
Who would have thought?
Yeah.
And to me, it comes so second nature, but it's
Of course
because
you
I'm
have-
in this environment all the time.
Yeah.
I just realized that's how powerful a lot of this information is to a lot of moms.
Right.
So she says, the pump doesn't empty my breast. It's not. Some people do not respond at all to a pump. There's different pumps you can try. There's different size shields. You have to switch your membranes. You have to get new tubes. You have to all different kinds of stuff like that. I would definitely connect. If you're having some of these issues and some of this doesn't connect with you, I would definitely connect with a lactation consultant.
Yeah.
I remember I went into St. Vincent, Bellin, which is where I had Jace, and I had enough milk. It seemed like he was growing, and I went, I'm like, something just isn't right. It's super painful still. I will also tell you, I stuck through nursing with Jace because Bella didn't latch. In my mind, I know it has something to do with the epidural and the surgeries and the premature. I feel in my heart that it does. Another reason I was adamant that my boys weren't going to have that.
Yeah.
But I could be totally off. Whatever.
There's no science to back that up. Just what you're
Mommy's intuition. And so I was so happy that Jace latched. Bella never latched. It was either a shield or it was pumping and feeding. It was crying. And moms can relate.
Yeah, moms know how frustrating it is.
And I was so happy that Jace latched. I did not care that it felt like somebody was taking a scissors, and because I was so happy that he latched. And I was just like, nope, I just got to stick through it. I got to toughen up. My nipples got to toughen up. It was totally wrong. He had a horrible latch.
So when you went in,
I went in and actually Kim helped me one day. I was in the office and she's like, his lip is going up. But then it was healing what was going on, reteaching him how to latch, and then he got the bottle preference. And then he nursed only at night, which was fine because that's the hardest part, only when he was sleeping. And then he didn't mind working for it. And then eventually, 4 months later, we got over that and he started to nurse. But a 4-month nursing strike, like moms say, a day or two. And like, you can do this.
And that's why,
That's what you were made to do.
Yeah.
You can do
your body was made to do it. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions on Facebook? Never responded.
Somebody just said, many women think they have a supply problem when they really don't. A pump isn't as efficient as removing milk. It's not a supply problem. There are many ways to fix this. That's just what I want to tell moms. There's all these things, and I see moms say, how can I increase my supply? I want more. It starts with the basics. Get baby on more. Doc taught me this, and Christy has reiterated it. The saliva, which you can look it up too, the saliva in baby's mouth will send it back to your body and create the perfect antibodies.
Have you seen those pics? Well, you did it. For real, didn't you? I think so.
The Tree of Life one, I don't have one of those where they do the tree to the babies. Is that what you're talking about?
No, sorry, you were about to say like the difference between.
The difference in the milk. Yeah, I've pumped milk and it's yellow one day and it's off-white the next day, or where they're sick. Totally. If you are exclusively pumping, good for you, Mom. Go you if that's what works for you. You are still giving baby that milk. It is hard. Exclusive pumping is hard.
Yeah.
Just as nursing is hard. Babies are hard. Nothing good in life comes easy, right?
Right, exactly.
But taking saliva, as awkward as it sounds,
that does.
We're gonna get crunchy here. Where's our crunchy meter?
I was gonna say, the crunchy meter is off the charts.
Taking saliva from the baby's mouth and rubbing it on the mom's feeding mechanism.
Can we not say
nipple?
The N-word?
Yeah, we can. Not that N-word.
No, nipple. That's what I was talking about.
Yes, we can. It tells the body. And I'm like, seriously? You just make this stuff up. It's totally legit.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, how else would your body know?
Super cool.
That is super cool.
But Food Before One is just for fun. We've got a killer video out there about...
Say that again.
Food Before One is just for fun. That's actually the...
But my baby's reaching for it.
That's actually... Your baby's also reaching for the remote and the iPhone. It doesn't mean it wants to eat your iPhone.
That's right. Babies just reach for things.
Babies just reach. They say Food Before One is just for fun. It's not necessary. American Academy of Pediatrics says you should breastfeed until 2. Obviously, after 1, starting solids. We've got an awesome video Doc did a couple weeks ago. Brianna, I'll tag it, about the premature digestive system and different things and why we wait. And I do wait, and I've been thankful to have enough milk to get me through with. But it is not easy.
And if you
it is
don't,
not
though,
easy. It is meant to be hard. I swear.
And
it makes us appreciate it.
I swear it's meant to be hard.
I swear.
But if you don't have enough supply to get through to a year, then there's alternatives. Like the donated and homemade and things like that. So don't give up too fast, like I did.
That's what I tell moms, and I don't say it because I want to make you feel bad for not breastfeeding. It was super. I mean, I remember, gosh, 30 years ago. I don't remember 30 years ago, but I've talked to people 30, 40 years ago. It was not a thing.
Yeah.
You took something in the hospital to dry up, you went home, you bought, like, it has its cycles.
Really? Wow.
So we're in a cycle right now where they are promoting breastfeeding. They are promoting
pushing
that.
for it.
They're pushing that.
Right. For it to be a thing. Cool. Yeah. Thanks, Brianna. Tagged that video.
Awesome.
Excellent.
So this is one of those subjects that isn't going to relate to a lot of people, but it's something that I wanted a video to refer people to because I even from some of our Wellness Way docs, I get what's the best way to increase milk supply. And it is supply and demand.
Supply and demand is the big one.
It's the big one.
And just don't give up too early.
Yeah.
Don't give up too easy.
Which, again, is why I
becoming...
like to detox, test my hormones, see my Wellness Way docs, everything before I have the babies, if possible, to make sure, which everything can flip when you have a baby, but there's other things that can be done.
How, and you probably don't know, but how does it change if it's a C-section versus a natural birth? Does that make a difference? Maybe just with your hormones or something?
It makes a difference with the hormones.
Yeah.
It makes a difference in the baby's gut. So there is a bacteria that is passed vaginally from mom to baby.
Okay.
I don't know the name of it. It is passed. The only way for baby to get the only way it will ever be introduced into their gut is through the vaginal canal. It's not available in a probiotic. It's not available via C-section. So this is, and I just started researching this, but so Bella will never have
that bacteria.
This bacteria. It is not uncommon in the crunchy realm for moms to have an emergency C-section.
Right.
For the doctors to wipe
that
vaginal fluid from the mom onto the baby.
Another, like, crunchy, off the charts.
Off the charts. I just started researching and I don't know all the details of it, but so I would assume,
right? So they don't get that bacteria. So I'm sure it messes with their digestion.
Could mess with their digestion.
Which would consequently, you would think, affect.
I just know none of my babies can handle dairy, so if I ever would have another one, I would just give up dairy 2 weeks before and not have to do the process of elimination. You'd think I would have learned it the third time through, but
so. Just wanted to get tested anyway.
Cheese.
You do cheese and butter.
But then me getting tested. Knowing that coconut.
Yeah, getting tested and know what
I would have never guessed
your
that
food
coconut
allergies
was an
are.
issue. Imagine if I didn't have enough milk for Jackson and I was cutting his bottles with coconut.
Right.
That would have been a double.
That would have been a double, yeah. So not have been good. Awesome. All right.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what else there was to touch on.
I just think there's options out there, starting with the first ones. Then you can go into some of the other things. And brewer's yeast, you can go to the grocery store, bake cookies with it, oatmeal. There's all kinds of recipes, lactation cookies.
Yeah, eat lactation cookies. Make your own cookie dough, even if it just has a little bit of oats.
Pro tip, I found this cookie, this vegan, dairy-free cookie. Remember the hunks, the coconut hunks?
I love those.
Super awesome. Ones? I had Wes believing for 2 months that they were lactation cookies, so nobody in the house touched my cookies.
Did you take them out of their cute packaging so that nobody knew?
They didn't care. They didn't pay attention.
Heavenly hunks. Oh,
so
good.
Last week we were sassy and we bought gluten-free, dairy-free, glutino Oreo things. They're not really Oreos. That's our naughty, and we were dipping them in cashew milk, and there was 4 left. Jace wanted one, and I wanted some, and Bella wanted some. And Wes comes and he's like, well, do I get a cookie? And I'm like, you can't have those. They're lactation cookies.
Lactation cookies.
It didn't work. He knew my secret.
That is a good pro tip from the expert at hiding.
# food hiding.
Yeah. Well, you need to eat to keep your supply up.
Yeah.
That's what works. Cool. Next week.
I don't think we have next week picked out yet.
Yeah, do you have any suggestions? Let us know if you have ideas. The
2 weeks from now, we've got Dr. Jason on talking about Gestational diabetes.
Gestational diabetes. I was insulin something.
Yeah.
Something or other. Gestational diabetes. That one will be on the 19th. 18th.
Yes, 18th, whatever one is that Monday.
Excellent. But if you have ideas for next week, let us know and we can
We'll get it
find
up.
some answers for you. And we'll be back next Monday at 2. See you then.
Awesome. Bye, guys.